if life came with a manual, it would bring us a lot of answers, perhaps, or it would just bring us more questions. And essentially this is the task of any real true endeavor, whether it's scientific or more emotional, spiritual, mental, and in understanding that at some point everything all comes together and there is perhaps a unified theory of something, that we have a lot of human history to look back on to say, okay, what are the actual manuals, or what have people already discovered? And then we also just have our own experience. Then beyond that, we have knowing without experience. This might be called intuition. Perhaps you could say it's embedded in our DNA or something like that, or it's something that's even deeper that goes beyond biology. And there's this book called The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he dives into this in a lot of detail, and a fascinating point where you might say consciousness or thought meets matter biology is at the genetic level. And in this book, Biology of Belief, it goes deeply into epigenetics, which is, epi is above. So essentially what influences our genes to turn on or turn off. And essentially there's the idea that stress equals bad and love equals good at like a very simplistic level, and that it's not enough to reduce stress, it's important to bring in feelings of positivity essentially. And that stress essentially is the negative trigger for a gene. Of course we can have what's called hormesis or hormetic stressors, which are positive stresses like exercise and that sort of thing, encouraging positive growth. But essentially the point being is that we have our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight response, and our rest and digest. So you have the release of these hormones, which then are activated by our thoughts essentially, and then influence our expression of our genes, and then the expression of how we then in turn experience health or disease and that kind of thing. And understanding that all of it is a projection of our own consciousness is sort of where everything is going, that we are capable of creating our own experience and our own perception of life, which then therefore has the downstream effect of percolating through the DNA, percolating through our organs, percolating through our thoughts and emotions and feelings, into our relationships at all levels, whether you're talking about the spiritual or the biological or whatever. There's essentially the awareness that when we create patterns of thinking, these are subconscious, and this is essentially our subconscious mind is like 95% or 90% of perhaps most people's daily lives, and this is essentially just learned behavior. So it's not like it's good or bad necessarily, it's just this is how we've adapted, and we're using that adaptive information more or less unconsciously to live. And at the same time, when we become aware of our subconscious and we bring those patterns into our conscious awareness through daily life, then we can be able to retrain and reuse our training in ways so that we're relearning things, but in a different way, if that makes sense. And this is a lot of what, say, repatterning traumas from childhood, or even work trauma or relationship trauma, anything like that, and being able to understand that at the deeper level, it's not about nature or nurture, it's really just us tapping into something deeper that's already within ourselves, and understanding that perception, essentially, our ability to relate our inner and outer worlds, is essentially the dynamic influencing force that we, as conscious beings, have the ability to control the outcome, essentially, of our own destiny. Or at the very least, we have the ability to tune into what our highest self is looking to express. And there's this quote from Rumi, essentially, it's, "What you seek is seeking you." So knowing that the universe is conspiring is this, I don't know, kind of like a cliche idea, but at the same time, it's very real in the sense that we have everything that we need already here, that when we're trying to go out and seek these things outside of us, that we're always just going to be perpetuating want, and that perpetuates a stress cycle. And when we return back to the present moment, to being centered, focusing on gratitude, focusing on being and accepting, and just feeling with presence everything that is here for us already, then we can then transcend beyond these fluctuations of the mind, of whether it's the upswings or the downswings of the joys and the sorrows, of being able to be fully present for everything that is, with this deeper sense of bliss, knowing that we are present to our experience, and that is actually what influences us, our presence, or is what influences the expression of our DNA, that we're capable of changing our DNA and literally evolving. So enjoy your day, and I wish you the best in your evolution. Peace. Blessings.